Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today we have a long-term review, the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 in S110V. This is my personal knife that I've had for a long time. I've had it for, 7-8 months now, which doesn't sound like a long time to some of you, but for a knife reviewer, that's a long time to keep something around. I'm doing this review for three reasons. First of all, again, I've had it a while. I think it'd be a good time to give a long-term update on it, how it's held up. It's mostly okay, but I'll point out a couple things that have gone slightly wrong. Well, I guess one thing that's gone slightly wrong with it. Also, every time this appears in a video, you guys ask questions about it, mostly about the S110V. We'll get to that shortly. Thirdly, this was like the fourth knife I reviewed. I didn't know what I was doing at the time, and that video sucks. As reflected by the view count on that review. So I'll link it down below, but it's terrible. It was the first review I did, or one of the first reviews I did. I think I recorded 4 or 5 in one day, so I don't know what order I put them out, but it may have actually been the first review I ever recorded. I'm not sure. But I bought this knife because before I wanted to start the channel, I went out and bought 4 or 5 kind of benchmark knives, that I thought I needed to have as points of reference before I started doing this. Yes, I did actually do some research before I started this thing, and this was always one of the first ones people suggested. I went out to a bunch of other YouTubers and written reviewers also and asked, hey, I want to do this thing, what should I get? Everybody's super helpful. Always people suggested a PM2 of any kind. I bought the S110V version because I like the blurple, and I was intrigued by the S110V. It was from the other ones that I was getting. There was a steel that none of the others had. So I wanted to try it out, and I've overall been quite happy with it. We don't need to say a whole lot about the PM2 here. I will also link down, I have a little ode to PM2s that I had. At one point I had 3 of them on my hands, and I did a little review with all 3 of them. Or a little, I guess, a ramble, not really a review. Just talking about how great the PM2 is and why it's often called the best EDC knife in the world. That's up to you if you believe that or not. I definitely think it's one of the best for absolute sure. Just a great iconic design. 2010 they came out. They sell a ton of these. Golden, Colorado, USA, Earth. As I said, this is the S110V version with the blurple scales. Let's do some stats really quick. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the stats because you guys can see those in a million other reviews. Overall length 8.3 inches. That iconic blade is 3.44 inches. You have a cutting edge of more about 3 inches though. Blade thickness 0.14 inches. Thickness behind the edge, I measured at about 23 thousandths. Again, that's a very hard measurement to get, but that's where I get it at. Handle thickness 0.46 inches, and weight. Another one of the things that makes the Paramilitary 2 very iconic is the 3.75 ounce blade or weight, which is very light for a knife this size, and especially with a compression lock and all this. And it's none of the fancy plastic. This is just a regular knife that comes in pretty light. Let's do some size comparisons real quick against some of the other icons that I use for benchmarks all the time. We're not going to go through a whole lot, but against your Benchmade 940, it's significantly thicker than a 940. But this is also, in my opinion, one of the best EDC pocket knives of all time. You have the Ontario Rat Model 1, it's pretty darn close. This is a little longer and a little more usable blade, but other than that, they're pretty similar in overall size, actually. And another Spyderco, lastly, another Spyderco. One that sometimes I think I like better than the PM2, and sometimes I don't, but this is the Manix 2. This is the carbon fiber crew wear version that they don't, this was a Sprint, but they're all the same size and dimension. I've actually thought about getting a Manix in this to match this one, but money exists, so who knows if that'll ever happen. But yeah, let's go on now and just talk about this knife. Aesthetically, PM2s aren't pretty. Never have been, never tried to be. They grow on you after a while. I guess like a really, a really great girl who looks great but maybe has like a scar on her face. After a while, you think it looks good. It's kind of like that with the PM2. It grows on you after a while, but it's just not really, I don't think it's pretty. I don't think anybody would put it in an art museum or anything like that. Quality-wise, this is a Spyderco made in Golden, Colorado. Quality is very good. The Tai Chungs are usually a little bit nicer, but they don't make this model in Tai Chung, so it's still great. I have had one slight, I guess you could call, quality issue with this. The blade centering has gotten slightly off over time. Not enough to bother me at all or really matter, but it has. It was perfectly centered when I got it. It isn't anymore, and I can't really adjust it out. I will say I have not fully taken this knife apart. And I'll explain why. It's not the screws. This is in the red. This was made in the red Loctite era of Spyderco when they didn't want you to take anything apart. Now they don't use the red Loctite anymore, and they welcome you to take stuff apart. But I did defeat all of that, but so I could adjust. Mostly it was just here. These were stuck pretty good. I defeated the Loctite so that I could adjust them to try and adjust that blade centering out, which I was not able to do. But I have not taken it fully apart because I had another PM2 after this. I had the S35VN one, and I did a scale swap on it, and getting this lanyard tube out is a bastard. And I don't want to deal with that. And it's held up very well as far, I just drip some nano oil in there every now and then, and I just did it yesterday, so you can see there's still some residue on it. But that works well enough. It's still great. I blow it out with compressed air every now and then. Just haven't really felt the need like I had to take it apart. And someday I'm sure I will. Someday it'll wear out enough that I'm going to have to do that. But I'm going to have to deal with that lanyard tube because it's kind of press fit in there. So they're a bastard to get out. Once you get them out once, then it's fine. But that first time, not fun. Not fun at all. So I just have not taken it apart. That's just one thing I haven't done. Let's move on to, I think that's all I have to say about the quality. Let's move on to the blade, because this is another thing you guys have asked me a lot about. I get this question a lot. It is S110V. We know that the Paramilitary 2 is a great blade shape. Very good slicer. Not the best in the world, but very, very good. And just a great all-purpose EDC blade. I do love the blade shape on the PM2. It is one of my favorite things about it. It is a very useful, just do-everything blade shape. Now, the S110V you guys have asked about, S110V has a reputation for being very difficult to sharpen. Holds an edge forever, but very difficult to sharpen. People ask, have you sharpened it? How did that go? Well, I haven't fully sharpened it. I've had it now, like I said, for 6 or 8 months. I've used it a lot for me, but again, I have a whole lot of knives, so what's a lot for me may not be a lot for you. But all I do is I just don't let it get dull. If I use it a good amount for a couple of days in a row, I just run it on the sharp maker a couple 3 swipes just to make sure that it keeps a good edge. I'll strop it occasionally. I just keep an eye on it. If it ever got down to be really fully dull, I admit I'd send it somewhere. I don't have the sharpening equipment or the proper skills to really work on S110V. It is a more difficult steel to deal with, but it's nothing to be afraid of if you just have basic stuff like a sharp maker or even like a Lansky turnbox or whatever. You can just keep an eye on it. Just keep it sharp and it's fine. It's nothing to worry about. It does hold that edge forever. I mean, when I use it for those 2 or 3 days and then I touch it up, I don't have to. It still has a great edge on it. I just am paranoid about it getting dull enough that it has to be fully sharpened, so I just keep an eye on it. That's about it. It cuts great, keeps an edge great. S110V is, the edge retention is everything everyone says it is. But yeah, if you're worried about having to fully sharpen it, just keep an eye on it so you don't have to. If you get a chip in the blade or something, which I don't know what you were doing, but if you get a chip in the blade or something like that, then yeah, you're gonna have to deal with it. You may have to send it off somewhere unless you really know what you're doing. But overall, I really like the S110V. It definitely does not keep me from using it all the time. Ergonomically, I love the ergonomics of the PM2. Always have. Everyone does, for good reason. It fits my hands really, really well. That's one thing I like slightly better about the Manix 2. Because I have really long fingers. They're skinny, but they're very long. I do like the ergonomics of the Manix 2 just a smidge more. But yeah, it's still great. I love that it's got the 50/50 choil in the front, so you can really choke up on it and get in for detail stuff. Very comfortable. It's really good, and I like the texture they use in the G10. It's grippy enough without being too grippy. I love the ergonomics on it. No complaints when I got it. No complaints after having it for 7 or 8 months. Now, in the carry, yeah, Yeah, it carries a little high. Not as egregious as the Para 3 is. They make a ton of deep carry clips for this. I don't have one on this. I did briefly. I had a titanium one on it, but it was like a stone washy finish. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it didn't match right, so I didn't like it. I'm picky about that stuff. I would love to have a deep carry polished clip for this, because that would match the blade and the hardware and all that. But every company you can get it from quickly doesn't make one. So yes, there are places on Amazon, there are places on eBay and stuff you can get them. I've never had the patience for it. I actually ordered one off of Amazon. I waited 5 weeks and I got sick of it and canceled the order because I wasn't getting any communication or anything. I won't say who it was, but a pretty obvious one you can find there. So yeah, it still has this clip on. I do wish it had a deep carry. Someday I'll get the right one, but until then, this is okay. I don't carry this much as when I'm trying to conceal it or anything like that anyway. It's just not really that kind of knife for me. If I want to carry something very discreet, I have better options. You know, I've got like this just happens to be sitting here. Mass drop, Ferrum Forged Gent. If I want to be discreet, I'll carry this thing with its tiny little deep carry pocket clip. This isn't a knife I try to be discreet with. Now the action, the deployment, this is the iconic, compression lock. This is kind of one of the knives that made the compression lock famous. I like it, always have, always will. The action on this one is good. It's not as good as my S35 one was, though. That one was super, super, super smooth. I keep saying I did sell the S35 one because I put carbon scales on it and I put it on Instagram and somebody made me an offer I could not refuse. So he's got it now. But very, very cool compression lock. The action's great. Like I said, this one isn't quite as smooth, but it's not bad. I like it. I can Spidey flick it all day long. You can open it a million different ways. It's just fun. It's fun. There's no doubt about the compression lock. And it's very solid. I've never had any blade play, any lock rock, anything on this. It's always been super solid. And I guess that's what I would say as a conclusion. It's a super solid knife. It's a dependable old friend, and can't see any reason why I'd ever sell it. It will probably not be my last PM2. For sure, it was my first. I'm sure it's not going to wind up lasting around to be my last. Like I said, I had an S35 after. I'm tempted by some of the new ones. There's the Crewwear one, which is not horribly priced. And the S35 one is coming back. So when that comes back, I may get another one of those. But we'll see. I'm hoping that the color is not the same as the brown. The brown was okay on the S35, but I'd rather it be something different. Yeah, and value-wise, before we go out of here, this didn't get hit too hard by the Spyderocalypse where they increased all their prices. This is only right now, let me look on, it's $165.72 on Blade HQ, so not bad. I think I paid $155 for this one. So it's $10. That's not a big deal. I'm not going to complain about that. And for S110V, I think it's still a good value. I think right now, of the production PM2s, this is the best value. I would get this over the S30V. I think I definitely would. It's like $35 more. I think you're getting a lot better steel. Not that there's anything wrong with S30V, but I just think you're getting a lot better steel for your $35 price difference. So that is my conclusion. Still, I still feel this is the best value in the range. Yeah, it's showing a bit of sign of wear, that centering issue, but other than that, and it's annoying about that it's really hard to take apart, even though they allow it now. But other than that, love the PM2, always will, I'll always have one. So hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.